Good afternoon. We'll go ahead and call the commission to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Adams. Here. Senator Givens. Here. Senator McGarvey. Here. Senator Parrott. Here. Senator Thayer.
Here.
Senator Thomas. Here. Senator Wilson. Representative Graham. Here. Representative Hatton. Representative Jenkins. Here. Representative McCoy.
Here.
Representative Meade.
Here.
Representative Miles. Here. Representative Rudy. Senator Stivers. Here. Representative Osborne.
The quorum being present, the commission is authorized to conduct business. Moving on, next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Is there a motion for the commission to approve the minutes of the January 1st, 2022 meeting, except as indicated items A through H under staff and committee reports, and approve items A through C under new business, and it accept and refer as indicated items 1 through 16 under communications? Second. Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Adams. Aye. Senator Givens. Aye. Senator McGarvey. Senator Parrott. Aye. Senator Thayer.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Aye.
Senator Wilson. Representative Graham.
Aye.
Representative Hatton. Representative Jenkins. Yes. Representative McCoy.
Yes.
Representative Meade.
Yes.
Representative Miles. Yes. Representative Rudy. Senator Stivers. Representative Osborne.
Motion carries and the minutes are approved. Is there any other business to come before the commission? I'm not the president, but you may proceed. Yes, sir. Okay.
As we all know, we just got back from the National Conference of State Legislators meeting in Denver. And in 2 years, we host that meeting here in Kentucky. I just would like to know, I know we had one meeting when session was going on, but I'd like to know, are there any other meetings planned? I obviously want us to put our best foot forward and have a successful NCSL meeting as we did 6 years ago when we hosted the Southern Legislative Conference here in Kentucky. And we did a great job hosting that meeting. So I'm just want to know what are the plans for any future meetings as we plan for that event in 2 years.
Well, luckily, Director Hartz knows all about that, so I'll let him talk about it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Senator Thomas, for giving me an opportunity to chat with the commission about this. And I am well aware of your interest in being intimately involved in the planning, and that is certainly at the top of my list to make sure that we're able to accomplish that. So from a planning perspective, we're on 2 tracks right now. The first is we will be responsible for having essentially a Come to Kentucky booth in the trade show hall in Indianapolis that will need to be staffed. Whenever the trade show is open, we'll need to have folks there. That won't be a problem. At the moment, we're thinking about just simply taking our State Fair booth up. We already have that, so we can just take it up. If you've ever visited our trade show booth at the State Fair, that's always take an opportunity to market yourself, they say. We offer constituents the ability to have their picture taken with a virtual backdrop, so they get to come away with something from the legislature at the State Fair that promotes something having to do with the General Assembly. I think that we could replicate that in Indianapolis and have a Churchill Downs backdrop or whatever you end up deciding you want, so that folks come away with that with a picture to help encourage them to come to come to Louisville. The other planning track we're on, which is a little bit more difficult and involved, is related to the two events that we'll be hosting for the NCSL meeting when it's in Louisville. My sense is the consensus from the commission members is we will do the large event we're responsible for at Churchill Downs. They're aware of that. We've spoken to them several times, and they're excited about being able to host thousands of people from around the United States and the world to come to visit. What an awesome venue that is. So the other decision you will need to make is where we're going to host the opening night reception. Those of you that just returned from NCSL will notice that event is different than it used to be. It used to be a destination event where they intended you to spend several hours, so you got on a bus and went somewhere. NCSL's preference is now that be a smaller, shorter event that people are able to walk to. But downtown Louisville is a wonderful place, and I suspect that we can find something that will meet their needs and our need to promote Louisville and Kentucky in general. So NCSL has already signed contracts with all the major hotels in Louisville for folks, so they're reserved. They've already signed a contract with the convention downtown, so those dates are already locked in. So as you start to make decisions, then that will determine the other thing that I will be responsible for helping you get to is what is our fundraising goal? How much money is it going to take to assist NCSL putting on that event and then being able to do all the things that you want to do in conjunction with it? So we are already working with the Ethics Commission to get their guidance on who we can ask and how we can ask them so that we are able to do that in an appropriate way. Those of us that have been involved in putting on what will always be the Southern Legislative Conference, but has adopted a different name, but will always be the SLC to me. That's a little bit different in that when we raise money for NCSL, the checks will actually be going to the NCSL Foundation to help put on that event. It's a little bit different when we do it for SLC, which is essentially we were holding the money and then we just dispersed it to SLC as we were presented with bills. So that's a little bit of a wrinkle this time that's a little different. But we've been, as soon as we became aware that it was coming, we started planning. Well, that's not exactly true. When I heard it was coming, my first question was, how can we get out of it? When I was told that's not an option, we immediately started planning. So we will do what we always strive to do as LRC staff is get all the decision points in a row so that you're making decisions in the correct order and you have all the information you need to be able to make the decisions in an appropriate, ethical way so that when folks come to Kentucky, they have a great time. I have not yet called the convention center to ask them this question because I still like to be able to say that post-COVID, this is the largest convention that they have on the books to come to Louisville. So the Senate President has confirmed that is indeed true. I'm going with that, but so I think the important thing to note, it's not just a big deal for this staff and members to host. It's a big deal for Louisville and our entire state to have folks from all over the country, all over the world, decision makers come and for us to be able to promote not just Louisville, but the entire Commonwealth. So to your specific question, Senator Thomas, the next decision point for the commission will be what does the initial letter to people who in the past have participated in fundraising to put on this event, to be able to get that out so everybody's in agreement. Another decision that has been made is we will not organize a host committee until essentially the start of next year, so that that way we don't have to, from my position, I don't have to print the letterhead twice. But from your position, then you'll be able to make informed decisions about who their caucuses of elected leadership, who are the members in Jefferson County to be able to add to the host committee, so we can proceed with one unified goal rather than start and then have to start over again. So the next thing you will see is some information about notifying folks that we will be hitting you up for money so that we can put on this NCSL event.
Thank you, Director Harts. Thank you, Senator Thomas.
Thank you.
Senator McGarvey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One thing briefly. I understand that we have put a cap on the budget for mailing citations out in the districts, which is fine, but it has been relayed to me that the cap on the budget is the same for senators as it is for House members. Given that senators represent nearly 3 times the number of people of House members, what is the rationale in overlapping districts for having that budget be the same?
We actually asked Director Harts to be in charge of that as well, so he will have that answer.
I've had this discussion with several members of the Senate. So we arrived where we arrived based on actual usage, and the members in each chamber who were requesting the most citations were requesting similar numbers of the most citations. So there wasn't a clear differential between House members and Senate members with the numbers that they were requesting. This isn't exactly your specific question, Senator, but let me give you some context to explain, so that part of my answer won't be confusing to you. So our citation staff can easily do 1,300 citations a month. They are currently getting more than 2,000 requests a month for citations. And this isn't the most pleasant thing to think about, but sometimes I get to think about unpleasant things. If you think about the demographics of this state, the number of families who are going to need memorial citations is not going to decrease over the next 20 or 30 years. So one of the questions we asked ourselves was, how can we get more LRC staff involved in producing memorial citations for members, rather than just saying, you get this many and you can't have any more, which is why we ended up presenting you with the option for the memorial card. We always knew that card was not set in stone, the first edition, so we're working with members who expressed interest in modifying it some way to get to a consensus in both chambers. It doesn't need to look exactly the same. It can suit each chamber in a different way. So there's now the cards. There are also now what we're describing as the classic citation. Doesn't contain quite as much information as the enhanced citation. So citation staff are able to do more of them. They look exactly the same. They're just not quite as long as involved. So they're able to do more of those. We're able to get legislative assistants and Project Center involved in producing these cards for members. The cards also have an advantage of, as soon as that obituary appears in the newspaper, the card can get out the same day, so they can arrive to the family in time to get to a visitation or a church service. So the question is, how do we address that delta between 2,000 that will grow and the 1,300 we're able to do? It's my hope and belief, and here's the answer to your question, Senator McGarvey, I was getting there. My hope and belief is that as we reach equilibrium and members get into the habit of using the cards where appropriate, the standard citation where appropriate, and the enhanced citations where appropriate, the number of citations that citation staff will be able to do at the end will grow, meaning they're getting fewer requests at the beginning of the month, which means they'll have more capacity at the end of the month. And then at that time, we'll be able to accommodate members who have a greater need for an enhanced citation. I had one member explain to me, they've been a member for a while, that they've sent so many of these out that if they start sending out something that isn't quite as good as somebody else, some other member of the family received, that will upset them. And I think that's a fair point taken. So it's my hope as we reach the equilibrium, then we'll be able to figure out how to assign the excess in the system that we're creating by giving these other options. So we're not telling members that they can't request citations. If they continue to request the enhanced citation, those requests will be received and they will be processed just as they are now. There's these other options that will allow us to move more quickly and get more staff involved in the process. One member I spoke to said they appreciated me trying to pinch pennies. In this instance, that's not the case. In full implementation, it's entirely possible we will be spending more money to get citations processed because we'll have more people involved in different products that we're offering. So this isn't just simply a we don't want to spend any more money on this. It's how do we deploy the resources that we have on hand to give members more ways to be able to serve their constituents. So the answer to your question is continue to send them in. We will continue to process them. And as we figure out how this shakes itself out, then we'll be able to address more directly with individual members who have needs greater than what we've allotted for at this time, how we're able to get done for them what they need to get done.
Appreciate that. I have a lot of thoughts, but probably not as many as you do, so I'm not going to take any more of the committee's time.
You know what?
And we'll address those separately.
If I may, Mr. Speaker, when I interviewed for this job, no one asked me, what is your compensation philosophy? I now know that I need a compensation philosophy, and no one asked me, what are you going to do about memorial citations? If you would have asked me those questions, I might have had a different answer, but here we are. Thank you for the point of personal privilege, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any further business coming before the commission? President Stivers, do you have any comments before we adjourn? With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Motion is seconded. Without objection, so ordered, and we adjourn.